I would like to introduce.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Dylan.
I'm PJ.
And I'm Derek.
And this is Unmasked on Air, the show where your four favorite fanboys gather to discuss all things nerd.
Tackling the amazing, the incredible, and the spectacular.
Geeks, gamers, comic fans, lend us your ears.
Thank you for spending your time here with us at Unmasked on Air. Alrighty, thank you guys at home for tuning in to...
Who the fuck is talking right now?
Thank you for tuning into this.
Well, this is we have a Canadian guest.
Oh, do we?
Alright, you hosers.
You did. You were like, alrighty then.
Alrighty, thanks for tuning in to Canadian FDR's Fireside
It's
Chat.
like Canadian or Wisconsin, and I can't tell which one.
Number one.
Nondescript northern Midwest.
Number one, please do not piss off all of our Cheesehead fans. And number two... Canada is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
British Columbia is a bastion of wealth and knowledge. Speaking of bastions of wealth and knowledge that I am convinced don't exist, Canada is not real. You can't prove to me. I'm saying Canada, not ironically. I'm just slipping. I don't believe Canada is real. I don't think you can prove that it is. My point is, of all the mystical, in nerdy stuff that we love and that we do, a lot of the stuff we talked about last month, things like... comics, movies, video games. Some of the best ones take place in these fantastical places. We'll be talking about Black Panther later on in this episode. So like Wakanda, for example. This question came to me because of the Wakanda Forever. I mean, that hashtag is everywhere. People are doing the cross-armed salute. And the beauty that Wakanda is in this movie is something that's become almost viral. And it made me think, if I had to live in a place that was, fantastical, not necessarily like a mystical city, but like a universe or a city or somewhere that's recognizable immediately. If you could pick one to live in, where would it be? My answer is simple. The DC Comics universe is always been my answer. I think it always will be. I love that they have places like Gotham and Metropolis that are almost like parallels to real life places, but are better in a lot of ways than those, except for Gotham. I'm amazed that people live in that city.
Okay, two things. One, Gotham, 89 Batman, one of the best quotes there.
Oh, no, I didn't give you my caviat.
Oh, I was just going to say, Jack Nicholson says, watching the news about decent people are afraid, and he says decent people shouldn't live here. Two, did you just go from Canada to magical place in a Segway? Because I'm convinced you're a Jedi, because that shit was forced.
Oh God, I'm gonna kill myself, guys.
I'm convinced that joke gave me ear cancer.
I hope so.
You have to cover my.
Okay,
medical
so what's
expenses.
your caveat? You want to stay in the DC universe?
Yeah, I want to live in the DC universe. It's
very broad.
It is. More like, I think, like the cities that they most often frequent. I'd say Metropolis and Gotham, but the DC universe, just because of the stories they tell, those cities have lives. Like those cities, we've said this a million times on this show that they're characters. But my caveat is that I want to be Spider-Man in the DC universe, because DC universe doesn't have Spider-Man, so I'd be Spider-Man in that
they're
universe.
going to.
Well, I was about to say, weren't we just talking about how they're going to have Spider-Man?
No. He isn't Spider-Man. He's...
Oh, you're right. He's Nightcrawler Spider-Man.
The fuck is his name? Sideways?
Yeah.
I love the first issue of that book.
Really?
It's pretty good.
Dylan looked extremely disappointed in you.
You don't like it?
I haven't read it yet. I just read the preview.
You mean you don't like Nightcrawler Spider-Man being shoehorned into DC?
Okay, I can name 10 characters off the top of my head that teleport. Nightcrawler does not have the key to the castle with teleportation. Answer my goddamn question. Don't divot.
I'm confused by your question. Let me. You want to be Spider-Man,
right?
In the DC universe. That wasn't part of the original question.
I think he just likes to want to be Spider-Man.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think it's it.
Like, if I want to be in the Star Wars universe, is that too broad? First of all,
no.
Okay.
No, that makes sense. I
don't have to pick a planet. It just. But then, if I want to be.
You don't have to pick who you want to be.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that I picked the DC universe, but I'd want to be a hero because it'd be torture to live in the DC universe and be powerless. And the power I choose to bring with me would be Spider-Man's, because they don't have anything like that.
Well, then why don't you be Gandalf and go to the Star Wars universe? They don't have anything like that.
That guy fucking exists.
What, Gandalf?
Yeah. There's a Gandalf character in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's called Old Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi.
He hasn't gone by that name in a long time.
Hello there.
Okay. So who wants to go next? Answering apparently
I
my difficult
want-
broad question.
No, it's not. It's not like difficultly broad. It was just your addendum. I think that threw me off.
Yeah, it was weird because it wasn't part of the original question.
Okay, we can deal without the sass.
I am gonna go a little outside of what most people would probably think. I think I want to live in the Pokemon world.
That's a cool.
That's awesome.
Okay.
In Johto or Kanto, either one, because I can ride the train back and forth.
Which one's the one with Cyndaquil? That's Kanto?
That's Johto.
Oh. Well, then Johto all the way.
Yeah, you're right.
You get to hit Gleegars with a bat. The ugliest little shits on earth. They've got, like, hefty, thick, pink crab claws on ugly bat wings. Yeah, knock them out of the
They're
sky.
like a crab, scorpion, bat.
So you're not a Pokemon trainer. In your mind, you're out there with a baseball bat, just basically doing the equivalent of clubbing baby seals.
Yeah, I'm that kid from Paranoia Agent.
Just running around and clubbing these Pokemon.
I imagine Derek being called in because of the Pikachu infestation. And he's got to go in there and gas them all because it's pest control.
He's right. He's the one that they're like, this Jigglypuff will not leave us alone. And you're like, it's so cute though. And he's like, no, it's fucking not. And then he just walks in there and makes basically cake batter spattered across the wall.
It's like a piñata, but instead of candy, it's fucking guts. So
That sounds about right.
what powers would you
I don't want powers. I just want to live in the Pokemon world.
Fuck this question.
What would you do?
Do you want to be Spider-Man? Because PJ wants to be Spider-Man.
I don't. I'm gonna let you be Spider-Man.
Thank you. What would you do? Like your profession?
I'd be a Pokemon trainer. Well, until
Nice.
I was old enough, and then what do you do in the Pokemon world after you?
Would
You
you-
either become a professor,
I was going to say it's ambiguous because you either professor, you work in a hospital
right?
for Pokemon.
Poke Center.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't get to be a gym leader because those are also ambiguously aged. They're always like they seem like they're 30, but they're still 19. And
Right.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say is you'll either live long enough to be the hero or you die a villain because you either live long enough to defeat the Elite Four or you give up and become a gym leader.
Or
I join Team Rocket.
you get really old and you stuff Pokemon into a grinder and make candies for all of your people.
Is that what you think?
That's what
happens?
Pokemon Go is. Absolutely.
Oh my
That's
God.
absolutely. And by the way, Team Rocket, isn't Jesse supposed to be like 15?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Oh my God. Dylan, what is your icebreaker question answer?
It's Calvin's icebreaker question.
Dylan's icebreaker answer.
I'm gonna go with Doctor Who.
Okay.
That's an interesting choice
Yeah, that's cool.
for this table.
One of my dreams as far as like sci-fi goes is to be able to travel to different planets and shit. Of course, I would have to have a TARDIS, which is also cool because I can also travel through time and go to any time period I want, as well as any planet.
I would say this assumes you're a Time Lord.
If he's got a TARDIS,
I
then
could
yes.
be,
Okay.
or I stole it. I could steal a TARDIS.
I mean,
I'd try.
how hard is it to kill a doctor?
Pretty hard. He can come back to life and regenerate himself
Yes,
on the
that's
brink of
true.
death.
Yeah.
It's the question is how hard is it to kill 12 doctors? Because if you do it once, then you got to catch up and do it 12 more times. Well, no. What regeneration are we on now? 13, right?
Yeah.
13th, yeah, I think.
They kind of screwed themselves up because they gave us a hard count of how many times the Doctor is allowed to regenerate, and now they've like surpassed it.
Well, yeah.
And they
Oh,
haven't
was
really
there an
acknowledged
original
it.
count?
It's 12.
Not in the old school series. I don't remember, but they really harped on it a lot in the reboot, and then they just skipped right by it. And did never explain it.
But that's cool.
Yeah, I'd be okay with being a Time Lord for sure.
If you had to be a bad guy from the Doctor Who series, like if you couldn't be a Time Lord, if you had to be one of the bad guys, which one would you be?
Oh God.
I already know for me, but it's a good question.
Yeah. Come on, you'd be a Dalek. You'd be a little squid midget riding around in a trash can with a weird, overly produced English accent, shouting the same word in every scene.
So wait, I can't be a Time Lord if I'm going to be a villain.
Like if
is
you-
that like your question? Well, because my knee jerk reaction is the Master, but he's technically a Time Lord. So if
Yeah.
not, then Davros.
No, I'm saying you have to be a
Leader of the
jabroni.
Daleks.
Oh yeah.
You have to be like a jabroni.
Oh, a Cyberman. They're cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Okay. All right, and Calvin, what is your destination?
Can I hop in for just a second? Because I did a quick Google search because I was interested. Time Lords used to have 13 lives,
Okay.
but in Death of the Doctor, which was a 2010 Sarah Jane Adventures serial, the 11th Doctor says that he can regenerate 507 times, which are basically that there's no limit anymore. So I guess they did away with the limit.
So like in a weird throwaway episode in a line, they rewrote their canon. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, that's fine.
whatever.
I mean,
yeah.
the show's been around for decades.
Oh, yeah.
At least at least long enough to rewrite some shit.
I mean, things are going to change. It's going to have to in order to keep it going. But
Okay.
yeah.
Like, when you ask this question,
I mean, it's so goddamn simple.
What?
Where do you want to go, Calvin?
Well, no, I know. No, I understand that. All I was going to say is that I feel like it would change based on the month and, like, what I'm into. Maybe that goes the same for you guys, but, like, my obvious choices don't really fit here. I think that currently... We were talking about Westworld not too long ago, you and I, Derek, and I was talking about how the old movie and how I want to start the show. I just got to watch a bunch of, like, the trailers and stuff, and, like, yeah, right now, dope. It's robots and cowboys. That's awesome. So, like, there. Or, like, Wild Wild West, where it's, like, all steampunky and stuff. Like, that.
I could get into that.
Either of those places would be super
Robot
cool.
Western.
Basically, right now, I want to be a cowboy, and I like robots. So, that's just kind of what I'm into at this particular juncture in my life.
Man, I'm not lucky enough because I am a merman and I like furries, and I can't think of a single place that I would just fit right into that nerddom.
Ooh, you know what, though? I didn't get to say who I want to be. I want to be...
Spider-Man, obviously.
No, Professor Snape.
Okay.
In a Western robot steampunk.
Right. So
place.
just in case something doesn't exactly go your way, you can magic yourself.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
You
And,
can
like, I
magic.
could make really good potions and sling them at my saloon. My robo saloon. My magic robo
man.
saloon.
I like that.
I'd call it Pick Your Poison would be the name of it. It'd be a good place to go if you were a robot.
Which, of course, it's
from
actually...
the future.
The correct term is it's a Saloonatron 5000.
Holy shit. I'm gone.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to go to his world.
Can I be Spider-Man there?
Yeah, whatever, man. That's fine.
All right, well, thank you all for playing. You all win a prize.
What's our prize?
Being despised by everyone who just listened to that.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little movie has come out recently. It's I don't know if it's gonna make it very long in the box office. It's it's only going on a couple weeks at this point, but it made back everything that it spent, its entire budget from its estimated budget at least. It barely made that back within the first 3 days of being open. And then now a couple weeks later, it's like doubled that amount. We're looking at, like, I don't know, 750,000 million.
Jeez.
$750 million. Domestic, it's made about 430-ish.
Jeez.
A little movie called Black Panther.
That's $750 million.
Yeah.
I
That's
thought you were
amazing.
talking about Red Sparrow.
No.
That's Black Widow.
Yeah, I'm confused by that. It does look just like a Black Widow movie, which apparently they've got a writer for.
Well, good.
That's, I mean, interesting.
Hopefully it won't suck.
Yeah.
Well
you can ask
overdue.
for.
It is. Like, she's had, like, story arc, but not what that character deserves.
She's also been in the MCU since, like, Iron Man 2.
Yep.
Let's step this up now.
Yep. And I think Wonder Woman probably had a lot to do with that as well.
You're good.
And then that's the thing is Wonder Woman and Black Panther, I think, are both very important for what's going on right now.
For sure.
And I hope to see more of it going forward. We all love that movie. We all
Yeah.
saw
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, within the first opening weekend?
Yes.
Everybody's
Yeah.
seen it, once, twice?
I've seen it once.
I have seen it 3 times, but that's because I saw it. I saw it opening night. I saw it a couple days later with Calvin, and then I saw it by myself at a movie theater that I happened to be at.
You guys saw it in 3D.
Yeah, we
We
did.
did.
I saw your picture
It was
with your glasses.
Yeah, you can check us out on Instagram. But yeah, no, it was super good. Sorry.
No, that's how I knew what you guys were doing that night.
Yeah.
I hadn't spoken to you all day, and then I'm like just browsing Instagram, and I'm like, oh, they're at the movies.
Yep.
Glad Calvin got to see it now.
It was, dude, it was so good.
Oh my
Like,
God.
it immediately became one of my top 5 favorite Marvel films. Like, easy.
I would.
Jumped over most of the Marvel films for me.
I think
It's
it's
very
number
true.
1 for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
That makes sense. You do love that character.
It was so fucking good though.
So I mean, I think we all have a lot to say about it. And it kind of plays in like PJ said with magical worlds, and they built such an amazing place that we've read about for years, but seeing it's so alien yet so grounded in realism,
For
and,
sure.
and it's just it's interesting. Everything about it was interesting.
Well, it's like what PJ said. The hashtag Wakanda Forever is like on everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's badass. Like, I'm excited.
The NBA had a free throw competition, like with professional players would throw free throws, and they just had this competition like a few days ago, and Chadwick Boseman was there, gave one of the NBA players the mask, the Black Panther mask, and
That's
he shot
cool.
it, and before he shot it, he was like, he did the salute with Chadwick
Yeah.
and then shot it, and that's, I mean, it's a phenomenon right now.
Well, it's like the thing with Jimmy Fallon where they had him...
Basically,
like, they all say thank you and how they feel about the movie in front of a poster, and they tell them they're recording it, and then Chadwick Boseman comes out from the back, and the very first one, the dude freaks out, and they do the high five and the salute, and it was just really it's
Omaze does that with like Star Wars characters, like
Yeah.
Josh Boyega. Is it John or Josh?
John.
I always
John.
fuck that up. John Boyega and like Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
I think Carrie Fisher did it, but yeah, I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, I think he's immediately, it's funny because when you think about, and I've got some thoughts on this, but when you think about maybe Benedict Cumberbatch, for example, right? Like, in the MCU, he's Doctor Strange, but ultimately he's Benedict.
right.
To me, like, Robert Downey Jr. has just become synonymous with Tony Stark, like, to kids.
Right.
They've not seen him in much other stuff. He is Iron Man. I would almost argue kind of the same for Hemsworth. Like, I'm sure when kids
Yeah.
see him, he's Thor. To me, though, the way that Robert Downey Jr. owns Tony,
Yeah.
Chadwick Boseman has immedially ascended
Yes.
into, like, he is fucking Black Panther, the
Yes.
end. And, like, it is the coolest part of that thing that I was just referencing. They kept coming up to him and saying, like, my king, and they would, like, take a bow and stuff,
Yeah,
and he
I
was
saw that.
saluting, and it's just this, like, I think there's a bigger difference too, though, because like when Iron Man, the first one, right, this was kind of like a groundbreaking, revolutionary, like, and I think that he and I can never remember his
Jon
name.
Favreau.
Thank you, Favreau. I think they knew what they were doing when they made that movie, and they were like, superheroes can be a real medium. Like, we can make these movies honest and good.
Right.
And I think that's part of why Robert Downey Jr. did all these things to kind of associate himself with Tony Stark. Because in the beginning, the first couple of movies, he did all kinds of publicity stunts. He would go out to these children's hospitals. He'd go to, like you said, basketball games. Like, he was everywhere as Tony Stark. I think that Chadwick Boseman understands. I mean, in every interview he's given thus far, he makes it very apparent that he gets it. This is a really big, I don't want to say burden, but it's certainly like a power and something that he needs to honor and needs to push.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's like the burden of responsibility almost. I think that he very much enjoys that he's in this place and he's doing a killer job at it. But like, I certainly think there is that. I think he knows that it's very important that there's a movement going on around this, and also that a lot of eyes are on him right
Well,
now.
yeah, and people quote movies like Blade and
Right.
I unbelievably people still talk about Shaft, but the point is people talk about black.
Don't you talk
superheroes.
about Shaft?
Okay, that was good. The point is people talk about black superheroes from the past, but Chadwick really is undertaken the responsibility of being the first black superhero,
And
without any question, because Blade was like a vampire and he hung out, in shady places. But,
And it was not a kid's thing. Like, it wasn't, you had to be an adult for Blade.
but for like for the world over, but most importantly for Black America, he's a king.
No, for sure.
He's treated with like immediate respect. For Black women, he surrounds himself with these, and it's just so empowering to that. I love this Instagram video that went viral of these two. There's two little Black kids, and they are like up and down and freaking out about the poster.
Right.
And it's like, I'm that one and you're that one.
Yes.
And I remember, because I'm a white kid, I've done that my entire life.
Oh my God, all the time. Any
the
comic
time.
book, any movie. When we were like growing up, little brothers playing out back in the backyard.
Yeah.
Our little
We
had like a
talked
swing
about
set
that
and stuff. Right.
last month.
Anything. We were anything, because if we wanted to be Avengers, there were a couple that we liked that we could choose from. You wanted to be Justice League, there were a couple that we liked that we could choose from. Like any medium, we're so well represented that we have the world's our oyster. We get to pick whoever.
And the reason I think Black Panther was so important, especially at this time in everything that's going on in the world, but more importantly, just the seeds that were sown, is that Tony Stark is rich. He's a genius. He has he gave himself the power to fly. Thor is a god. Captain America is the best soldier in the world. The Black Panther's a goddamn king. He's fucking a god. He's royalty.
Yes.
And these kids get to be that now. And that, that
sure.
hit me hard. Like, because the movies that we went and saw it in, I mean, people like these like specifically African American people went all out.
Yeah.
Jewelry,
Yes.
clothing, and it was a celebration, and that was just gorgeous to me.
And I want to say, I've heard and read a lot of hate on that, and it really pisses me off.
Yeah.
No, because there have been so many tweets and so many, and from all kinds of diverse people are saying, I can't believe that there's so much enthusiasm, and why are they, quote, acting out when they're going to these movies? Because they're dressing up and celebrating. But you know what? If you've ever seen a Star Wars release,
Oh yeah.
who the fuck we do? Like the stereotypical response to these nerd movies is that anybody that's hating on that, I just think has a problem with where it culturally comes from, and that to me is just blanket racism. Fuck you. If anybody deserves to be able to enjoy a film, it is those people that come from this culture that is real and is being represented. That's my biggest point, I think, in this movie, is that it did such a good job of representing real culture.
Yeah.
This isn't, yes, it's Wakanda, and Wakanda is made up, but this is real African culture.
Well, yeah.
And I think that it's beautiful. Let me get into some of these points here with you guys, because I wrote quite a bit about this. So first of all, I think the film did an incredible job with the overall story by both establishing an origin while not making it feel too much like an origin story. And before I start this conversation, what I'm going to go ahead and state now for anybody who's listening, firstly, there will be spoilers in this. That's safe to say. We're going to talk about this film. But we're not going to give you a play-by-play of the movie. If you want to see the movie, go see the movie. We're just talking in generalities here and maybe some specific points. So, my opening statement, I think it did a great job at establishing a character, establishing an entire universe within itself, that while not feeling like a once-upon-a-time origin story.
So
thoughts?
I think you said it builds a universe within itself. It builds a universe and a universe and a universe. And what I mean by that is clearly you have the Marvel universe that this expands on. It builds a little bit into the Marvel universe, but it then builds Wakanda. You see the Wakanda city streets. You see Wakandans celebrating and being a part of this rampant city. He and Nakira are walking through the streets, and they buy things, and it's like it builds the culture of Wakanda, but then the thing that you're treated to the most is the culture of the royalty of Wakanda.
Oh, for
you
sure.
see their palace, their ritual, their traditions, and their wars and their conflict. So you have Marvel, and then Wakanda, and then him and his life.
So it's actually a different note that I had here, but we can move right into that, and I'll just circle back around because it's brilliant. It is, to me, a really good standalone movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also fits perfectly in this MCU they're building. And I put down here on my little, so I wouldn't forget, I'm going to draw the parallel to Doctor Strange. The reason Doctor Strange became one of my top 5 favorite Marvel movies was I left there going, if there wasn't another superhero movie in the world, and this was just the only cool movie. It's great. But the fact that they're working it in, but I think this one works in so much better. And maybe it's because the introduction of T'Challa in Civil War kind of first, and we kind of get to, so now we're curious to see what else he does. But I think it meshed like a puzzle piece. It fit right in.
Oh, yeah.
While standing out, like you said, with this separate universes all going on at once.
And we talk a lot about, if we didn't know about these characters beforehand.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this is leaned on knowledge. Dylan reads a lot of Black Panther, so going into Civil War, he recognized Black Panther immediately and recognized his storyline. But there have to be people out there that saw Civil War, do not know who Black Panther is, went, who is this guy? And saw him be kind of mysterious. He's a king, his father dies in the movie, okay, but that's all you really get to know. And then Black Panther happens, and it expands on that in such a natural way, but in such a heavy, impacting way.
And that's something I really like that the MCU is doing, is that even for the people who know these characters, know their stories, the MCU is staying true to it while still making it new for the people who are already knowing it, because like the origin story or just like little things are going to be slightly different, so it's a new experience for the people who already know it.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point, actually. And another thing that I had written here is that one of the things I really enjoyed about this film is the characters that are from comics. They reference so many characters that you can look up that are honest characters. Every named character in this film, you can find a first appearance note on. I'm going to get back into that one a little bit in just a second, because I have a couple of examples that really impressed me too, because Marvel tends to put their own spin on everything. For now, let's start back with the overall story and establishing origin. I was really a fan of how they were able to say, hey, if you don't know anything about this, here's a place. And it's almost visually, too, as you go through the opening of the film, because it's like, oh, look at this. It's like Africa out in literally nowhere. Oh, except if you go down deeper and there's a whole city, and look how advanced we are. And then down deeper, oh, here's T'Challa, and here's his mother, the Queen of Wakanda, and here's his royal family and all their access. And like PJ said, you kind of build a universe, and they did it so visually. I never felt like I was sitting through an origin story.
Yeah.
No, I think it works very well as an origin and as a standalone adventure. Like it does a good enough job of making each person who's in it interesting and worth your time, that it doesn't feel like the biggest problem with most of the MCU origin flicks are they tell how the hero gets their powers or their whatever and become who they are, but then their big villain is just a bigger version of them.
Yes,
And
like Doctor Strange, for example.
That, or Doctor Strange is a little out there, just because you have Dormammu on top of everything.
Oh, right.
But I'm thinking okay, Iron Man, you have Ironmonger.
Hulk Abomination.
Hulk Abomination, you have in Thor, he's just fighting his magical brother.
Hey, Loki's magical and attractive.
He is.
He is.
And the thing that I liked about this one is that it takes that exact same thing and goes, yeah, at the end he's literally just going to fight the evil version of himself in almost a matching suit.
Yeah.
But Killmonger, Eric, is such an interesting character that it doesn't matter.
No, for sure.
Because what they're fighting about is more important than the fact that it's you're basically watching the Black Panther fight the Black Panther.
And there's almost very limited action throughout the film too. It was surprisingly dialogue heavy with punches of action.
Yes, and the action moves the story forward. It's not action for action's sake,
right?
Which happens a lot. That's what I have a problem with say Iron Man 2.
Oh yeah,
Iron Man 2. It really seems like, oh well, this amount of time has gone by. I guess we should have a big action scene. Okay, well, they've talked for this amount of minutes. We gotta have a big action scene. I forgot. We're at the end of this.
For sure.
This seemed a lot more natural in its storytelling.
No, for sure. I think the storytelling was really great. Hey guys. Okay, now I don't want you to freak out. Okay. Did you just feel that tremor?
Yeah,
No,
but-
my legs are prosthetic.
Dylan, do you feel some?
I feel it. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay, well don't anybody move. I'm gonna take this pen and I'm gonna throw it on the other side of the room. Okay. But if something busts out of the floor, you know what this means. Yeah, it's the sandworms. Here we go. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's moving.
heavier.
Everybody get up.
Oh, God, get up.
Get up. Get up.
Everybody get up.
I call being Kevin Bacon.